What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the RA Visuals YouTube channel, where you'll always find high quality visuals and high quality tech. And today we're going back in time yet again to check out one of the more controversial budget graphics cards from NVIDIA, the GTX 1060 3GB. We're going to put this card that originally launched back in 2016 through its paces and see if it can keep up with a good mix of games and see if it's still worth picking up in 2023. But before we get into that, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. With VIP-URCDKEY, you can install and activate Windows for only 16 bucks.
Hey, that's pretty good.
It's fast, easy, and 100% legit. You can now enter my new promo code for 2023, RAV25, which will now save you 25% on your purchase. So get rid of that Windows activation watermark and get your system activated today. It also works for Windows 11 as well. Check the links in the description. All right, starting this off, it's no secret that right from the launch of this card, it was just kind of scoffed at, and everyone knew that it was just a cut down version of the very popular GTX 1060 6GB version. Now, how did NVIDIA cut it down, you may ask? First, let's start with the memory. The card shipped with half as much memory, which amounted to a 6x512MB configuration. Also, whereas the original GTX 1060 6GB shipped with a fully enabled GP106 GPU, the GPU used in the 1060 3GB ships with one of the 10 streaming multiprocessors disabled. This leaves 9 SMs enabled, leading to a CUDA core count of 1152 and 72 texture units, which is a bit of a difference compared to the 6GB model of the 1060. The good news is that other than these two differences, the rest of the 1060 3GB is exactly the same as its bigger brother right here. Now, the main reason for the creation of this card seemed to be to give AMD's RX 480 a competitor at the same $199 price point. Although the RX 480 actually shipped with either a 4 or 8GB VRAM model, which today holds up a lot better as many games do require more VRAM to run at higher settings. With all of that in mind, let's run the 1060 3GB through my gauntlet of games and see how it does, and if the limited VRAM number actually does make a huge difference in gaming. Alright, and as we get our 1060 3GB slotted into our test system here, I do want to remind you guys that we are using the same test system that I use for most of these videos, which includes an i5-12400F as the CPU, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM running at 3600 MHz, and of course, the 1060 3GB that we got today. And getting things started, we're going to hop into Overwatch 2, in which we're running the high preset at 1080p using AMD FSR 1.0, and with this game, we are seeing a very respectable average frame rate of 153 with a couple of dips here and there, but in the heat of the battle, it looks like the FPS stayed nice and steady, and we didn't see any crazy dips or any like really bad stuttering or anything like that, so very smooth gameplay. And next we hopped into Diablo 2 Resurrected on the medium preset, again at 1080p, and we were able to grab ourselves an average FPS of about 71 FPS, which, funny enough, is almost the exact same as the GTX 970 we just tested a little while ago. But either way, still a very smooth gameplay as we're getting over 60, but I would have loved to see this a little bit higher. I think it has to do with the VRAM amount, because this game, I believe, does take advantage of higher VRAM. And hopping over to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in multiplayer using medium-low settings with AMD FSR 1.0 turned on, we're able to get about an average FPS of 100, which again, very smooth, not too bad. And then over in Warzone, we were able to get ourselves an average FPS of 82, which again, very playable, but obviously you'd like a lot more in a competitive shooter like this. But again, if you're looking to just get this game running and play it at a very respectable frame rate, this card will do the trick. Moving on over to Apex Legends at 1080p low settings, we were able to get ourselves an average FPS of 105, and so this game really started the correlation of me seeing certain games that require a lot of VRAM may not like this card very much compared to other ones that have at least 4 gigs of VRAM. So in games like this card is really starting to show why it is actually just a cut down 1060 and not the full 6GB version. Now moving over to Doom Eternal, and the reason I threw this game in here is because I wanted to illustrate a point about this VRAM. And usually we test this game at high or medium settings, but because this card only has 3 gigs of VRAM, we are not even able to set this game at high or medium settings because of insufficient VRAM. So to even just run this test, we had to set it at low settings at 1080p. And when we hop into actual gameplay, we were able to get ourselves an FPS of about 83, which by most people's standards is pretty dang okay, but I mean, keep in mind that this game is very well optimized and it does look good even for low settings, so it does bode well for this card in a game like this. But if this was a different game where the low settings don't look that good, you may be a little upset that your card can't even push the settings any higher. Alright, and then hopping into Fortnite at DX11 on low settings and epic view distance, you know, the pro settings that everybody uses, we were able to get 165 FPS, which is pretty dang good. Obviously very playable and looks really nice in this game. You're able to see things, I'm able to shoot everything, and I was able to land here and take out an entire like town full of people, so I had no complaints and it played really well. But not everything with this card is sunshine and rainbows, guys, because here in Red Dead Redemption 2, this is where things took a turn for the worst. So here in the in-game benchmark, it looks like everything's fine and we're getting over 60 FPS, right? Well, we actually ended the benchmark with a solid FPS of about 56. So I expected in the actual game, it'd be somewhere around maybe 50 or something like that, but that's not what happened. But yeah, it looks like we're gonna, in the actual game, our average would be somewhere around like 45 to 48. And if you show a bit of action and whatnot, I bet you. Oh wow. Oh, the game is oh boy. Oh boy, that's not good. Okay, so with the epilepsy test out of the way, we can go ahead and move on to Cyberpunk, because why not, right? So in the actual in-game benchmark, it wasn't too bad, and we were able to get a FPS of 53, which actually seemed to translate into the real game as well, as we were able to get a nice steady FPS of 50 with a ton of combat going on. So this game actually is playable, but again, you kind of have to lower every bit of the settings and sacrifice that visual fidelity so you can get a steady FPS. Now, what was surprising after those last two benchmarks was in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Enhanced Edition at medium settings with FSR 2.0 on, we were able to actually get ourselves a solid FPS of about 63, which is very, very playable for a game like this, and even continues to be good like that when you are in combat or doing anything else in this game, so was very, very nice to see for a card like this. Okay, and now finally moving into a brand new game to really test this card's mettle, and so in Hogwarts Legacy we're running at low settings with AMD FSR on the balance setting, and yes guys, this card can play Hogwarts Legacy. So I wanted to start things off inside the castle. So as you see, we're walking around right here in the grand staircase, and we're getting an average FPS of about 93 or 94. A lot of stuff is happening. There's a lot of things on the screen, but with FSR 2.0 on, this actually looks really, really good, you guys. It doesn't look super blurry or anything like that. And as we change over to the Great Hall with all these other effects going on, you can see right here, again, the FPS goes up and down, but you can see we're still getting an average FPS of about like 93. So really, really good inside the castle so far. But if you've benchmarked this game, then you will know that the real test is either going outside or going over to Hogsmeade, where there's a ton of things going on the screen, and this is a real test of what your absolute low FPS for the game will be. And as you can see here, we're sitting pretty steady at about 58 or 59, which is not bad at all. And again, at low settings, even with this upscaler on, the game actually does not look terrible at all. So let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. Alright, with our benchmarks done, what can we draw from our findings today? Well, first, the 1063 gig actually does seem to have life left in it to run some very modern games at 1080p and get some actually respectable frame rates with the right settings, as you guys saw in my testing. Now, a huge reason to even consider picking this card up in 2023 are the insanely cheap prices that you can find it listed at, and it's not uncommon to see these listed for like $50 to $80 in the used market all day long, so it makes it a very compelling argument towards still picking one of these up if you're in the market for it. So what's my actual opinion on this? Well, you guys are gonna have to ask yourself one question. Do you play games that require a lot of VRAM to run? If the answer to that question is yes, then you might be a lot better off skipping the 3 gig model and picking up a full 6 gig model, as you can actually find those for relatively cheap these days too, and they will have a lot less problems running those more demanding games that need a lot of VRAM. Now, how much better is the 6 gig compared to the 3 gig version of this card? Well, we're going to actually find out pretty soon because I now have another 6 gig model of this card in the house again, and we're going to be putting it up against the same games and the same settings we ran today on the 3 gig model to see how much of a difference the extra VRAM and that one extra streaming multiprocessor will make in terms of some raw FPS in your games. So if you want to make sure that you see that video, go ahead and get subscribed with those notifications on so you'll know next when I go ahead and go live for another GPU testing stream or when another one of my videos goes live on my channel. And don't forget to go ahead and like the video if you found this one interesting or helpful in any way. Also, is there another budget card you want to see me test here in 2023? Leave me a comment down below and it may actually be featured in one of our next videos. But until then, you guys have an awesome day and I'll catch you in the next video.